Alrighty, hey everyone, welcome back. Wow, I'm blurry. Okay, there we go. We're back. Welcome back. Today is obviously Tuesday. We have Cleanspark reporting their not quarterly results, fiscal year-end results. We'll talk about that obviously in quite detail there. We have some other news stories as well. Texas bought Bitcoin for their strategic reserve. We have some other stories as well at that point. Bitcoin was down today. Ethereum was up a little bit. Markets were up for the most part. Some of the miners actually squeaked out a green day for today, which was actually nice to see as well. And then we'll get into Q&A. Okay, so let's get into it here. Thank you so much for coming in as always. But as always, not financial advice, right? For now only, do your own research. Full disclosure below that. Hit the like button, subscribe. Helps me out tremendously here. And let's take a look at what happened with Bitcoin today, miners as well, and everything else that transpired on the day. So Bitcoin was down a little bit today. We had a nice day yesterday, but today we were down 1.07%. We closed out at 87,325. Ethereum was up just a little bit today, squeaked out a little bit of a green there. It was up 0.19%, closed at 2,958. Markets were up. Dow Jones was up 1.43%. NASDAQ was up 0.67. S&P was up 0.91. Russell was up 2.18%. And the miners, like I said, we're able to squeak out somewhat of a green here, right? It was kind of mixed, half and half, it seems like. Bitfarms was down a little bit. It was down 0.72% on the day after being down much worse, and then kind of rallied back up towards the end of the day here. BitDeer was up 3.47%. This thing has having a nice little 3-day rally here. Kanga was flat on the day. Cypher was up 4.85%. It's above the 50 SMA right now, which is nice. Cleanspark was up 2.96% on the day. You can see that it's above the 200 SMA as well right now. Closed above it for a second time in a row, so that's looking good. CORZ was down 1.27. Hive was down 1.25. Hut 8 was up 1.78. IREN was down actually 2.1%. Not sure why. Mara was down 0.36%. Riot was up 3.67%. And Wolf did the best today. It was up 10.37% there. I didn't see any news stories on them. Other than Zach's yesterday, I'm not sure that, I don't think that played into it. So yeah, not much going on there. Bitcoin holding companies, MicroStrategy was down 3.83% today. Gave up pretty much majority of the gains that it had yesterday. Galaxy was up 2.69%. Block was up 2.96%. Coin was up, down 0.72%. Metaplanet was up 1.1%. Exodus was down 3.49%. Nexon was up 1.79%. This thing's kind of trading in a little bit of a range here, looks like right now. Semler was down 2.66%. Phoenix was down 13.46%. This thing hasn't been this low since, oh my gosh, going back to, going back to February of 2024. Going all the way back a year here, it looks like. Yeah. Wow. Okay, so that thing has definitely gone way back. Game was up 2.78%. Small miners here. Let's see how they do today. Any was the only one that was up today. It was up just 0.24%. Argo was down 8.74%. DigiPower was down 1.41%. DMG was down 1.87%. Mawson was down 0.98%. Canon was down 4.89%. The Bitcoin miner ETFs were in the green, a little bit at least. BitQ was up 0.93%. BKCH was up just a little bit, 0.01%. DAP was up almost 0.75%. WGMI was up 1.23%, so that actually wasn't too bad there. They were all in the red in the morning, but they finished out in the green there. Ethereum holding companies were in the red for the most part. BMNR was down 7.04% here. So gave up half the gains there, looks like, from yesterday. BitDigital was down 1.31%. BTCS was down 2.85%. Game was up actually 1.68%. SBET was down 1.49%. And then some of the other companies that we track. Let's see here. Wi-Fi was down 4.06%. American Bitcoin was down 2.05%. Open was up 0.65%. And then we had Oracle being down 1.62%. Nvidia is down being 3.29%. Soluna being down 5.99%. Bax being down 1.47%. Fermi being down 2.46% there. Who else do we have here that we track? Meta was up 3.78%. Google was up 1.62%. Amazon was up 1.5%. Microsoft was up 0.63%. And Nvidia was down 2.59%. Then Nvidia was down because of the story about Google possibly getting a deal with Meta for their TPUs. That's kind of interesting there. Did a little bit more research on the TPUs from Google. TPUs are kind of like ASICs for the Bitcoin mining side of things. They're a little more application-specific integrated circuits, right? Which is what ASIC stands for. So they're more fine-tuned for the algorithms, the programming, their own data centers there, and that helps out obviously Google with their own AI cloud, whereas Nvidia's GPUs are more multi-purpose, right? They can be used for inference, it can be used for obviously training, things like that, where I think the Google's GPUs are more fine-tuned for certain aspects of their operations there. All right, so there's that. As far as how the miners are doing here after hours or pre-hours right now, if we update this really quick, we got Bitdeer being down 1.43%. Bitfarms is actually flat. It's on the pre-hours here. We got Kango being up 0.24%. Cypher being up 1.26% here. We got Cleanspark being down actually 2.45%, or now, well, 3.38%. It was up in early on, like around 4 o'clock. It was actually in the green, and then it started to go back down here. CORZ Scientific right now is up 0.45%. Hive Digital. Let's see where that one comes in at. That one is down 0.95%. Hut 8. Come on, load. There it is. It's up 0.5%. IREN here in after hours right now is up 0.36%, it looks like. And then we got Marathon here. Marathon, come on, up 0.18. Riot, and then we'll get into not Mawson, but TeraWolf. Riot's up 0.49%. And let's go back here to TeraWolf. Let's see, come on. Oi, it's taking its sweet time, isn't it? Okay, Mawson. There's Mawson. Let's go back to TeraWolf. I want to go back to TeraWolf. Come on. There it is. Okay, TeraWolf. TeraWolf right now is up 0.72% as it is. Okay, looking at Bitcoin here for the month of November here, we are still, where are we at? Well, we're down 19.83%. We got a couple more days left to go. We're definitely going to have a pretty rough November here, looks like, unless we really rally here in the next couple of days. All right, let's see, come on, I want this update as well. Come on, you can do it, there it goes. Okay, so yesterday we actually had outflows because of IBIT selling 149, almost 150 million there. So we had outflows of 151 million overall. Today we got inflows of 45 million. Again, depending where IBIT comes in at, will determine if we're a positive or negative here. But we've definitely seen IBIT selling out here recently on it. Still the good news here on the interest rate cuts happening in December. It's now up to 84.9% as a 25 basis point cut is going to be happening there. So that's good for us. And then some of the good news stories that we do have here. Breaking Bank of America expects the AI data center market to grow 5x by 2030, reaching about 1.2 trillion, up from the 242 billion today. That's all great news for us, right? Especially companies like IREN, Cypher, Cleanspark, Bitfarms, Wolf, whoever else is getting to that, Riot, Hut 8, Hive as well. Right, all those guys will definitely benefit on this going forward here, and that's why we're holding on to these guys here a little bit longer. And then also, this is from the Kobesi letter here. Breaking Nvidia response to news of Meta using Google's TPUs, sending Nvidia stock 6% lower during the day, but it did bounce back up there. Nvidia says they are delighted by Google's success, and they continue to supply Google, which they do. They supply some GPUs to Google there. They also say Nvidia is a generation ahead of the industry and offers greater performance, versatility, and fungibility. The AI wars are heating up, which I would agree there. And yes, Nvidia does have potentially faster chips right now compared to others. They're more expensive, though, obviously, as well because of that. And they're more generic, you could say. But they're definitely being used for AI because of the processing power there. Whereas TPUs are a little bit more fine-tuned, I think. And then here, NVIDIA is a generation ahead of, the platform runs every AI model and does everything computing done, right? Whereas Google is more fine-tuned for their operations and for their applications, their software, and things like that. And NVIDIA has the CUDA, right, software, which is freaking fantastic there. I'm not too concerned with NVIDIA having issues going forward. There's just going to be so much demand for them regardless, especially as you start hearing more and more of these countries trying to do their own AI, right, sovereign AI. NVIDIA is going to benefit from that regardless. So if Google gets a customer here and there, not a big deal. I don't see that being an issue for NVIDIA going forward here. But obviously everybody freaked out on the news here, thinking it's going to be bad for NVIDIA, which I don't see that being the case. All right, so there's that one. Next here, Texas just bought 10 million Bitcoin for its strategic reserve. So it's starting there. That's awesome to see there. We'll eventually see it, possibly more states and more countries doing it as well. This is another one of those little bullet points that makes me think that we are going to be in an extended cycle compared to the prior cycles that we've had in the past, where it was, a boom and bust cycle within 4 years. On that one. All right, next, we obviously got to get into Cleanspark here. So Cleanspark came out with their fiscal year-end 2025 results today. I listened to the conference call that they had there, along with all the Q&A here. That's why I was running a little late here to start the show, because I wanted to listen to all that and take notes here. So here's what I got on the notes as far as from Cleanspark's conference call. They are having extensive conversations with potential customers for their sites. Sandersville is primary target right now, along with their other site that they just bought in Texas, the Sealy, Texas site. Strong inquiries into Sandersville, traction on Sealy, Texas site as well. Conversations with hyperscalers developers are happening. Matt said he was talking to somebody last night, so that's definitely happening there. They're having quite a bit of those. They also pointed out that their partnership with Submer is as a key provider for their build out, which could potentially help them build out faster, and also at a maybe slightly lower cost there. Next was sites near metropolitan areas will transition to HPC AI. So we're talking obviously sites around like big metropolitan areas like Atlanta, Georgia, right? They got a couple sites over there that those are like prime locations for that to be built out. And then they're talking about having rural sites be more for BTC, which kind of makes sense there, right? If you're far away from metropolitan areas, those sites would be probably great for Bitcoin mining unless things change. But right now that kind of makes sense there. And then I'm wondering if I heard this correctly, but they said something about Q1. They're targeting an additional 6 exahash of mining capacity will be added on, and they will continue to grow going forward as well. They are not giving up on Bitcoin mining, so that's also good to hear there. Sandersville is 250 megawatts. It's not going to be a conversion site, so it's not going to be like one of those where they transition from Bitcoin mining to HPCI within the facility that they have currently. They talked about having adjacent land. That's they said 100 plus acres of land around it. They're going to basically build that out from the ground up for HPCI, and when it's ready to go, they're going to flip a switch basically on the power to stop providing power to the current facility and power the new HPCI facility. So that was kind of interesting as well, that they would go that route. And I think it's based on the conversation that they're having with potential customers there, as far as what their build out requirements will be and such like that. Okay, and then lastly here, let's see. All right, 2 of the takers for their sites there in Sandersville, looks like, are looking to sign lease by end of year potentially. I'm not sure if that was this year or next year. So I heard that, and I heard end of year. But I did hear obviously 2 of the potential bidders for those sites are looking to sign by the end of the year. Now, whether it's this year or next year, correct me if I'm wrong on that, whatever, if you guys are listening to it as well. But that was obviously good news to hear that as well. Okay, so there's that. There's my notes from the Cleanspark conversation or conference call. I listened to it here. I still had a couple more minutes to go, but I just had to call it quits there on that one. If we look, this is their full numbers here, right? Good thing is I ran through all the numbers. I put it in my spreadsheet as well. We'll take a look at that here shortly. But the number of shares went down because they obviously bought shares back. So that's good. This is obviously in Q1 for them, which is our Q4 as well. But the number of shares has come down by about 9% or so from the prior quarter. Okay, that's it on that part. Here's Cleanspark right now as it is, right? So now they're down to 255 million shares outstanding. Stock price as of today was $11.82. Their market cap is about $3 billion right now as it is. Performance over the last 12 weeks has not been great, but nobody's has been really great here. They've had a huge run up here and obviously a huge fall as well. But they're up 5.3% from 12 weeks ago. They're down 39% from 8 weeks ago, down 45% from 4 weeks ago. From 4 weeks ago, they're down. We talked about that last week. They were down 11.22%. Right, current hash rate 50 exahash. Future hash rate they're supposed to get to like 57.5 or something like that exahash. And then if they install the 6 exahash that like they're talking about in the next quarter, that would get them much closer to where they're planning to be at. Also, and they said that they were kind of slow to build out the additional hash rate there because they wanted to see Well, one, evaluate their sites for which ones would be good for HPCI. And if they were going to be, switching those sites over to HPCI, then it wouldn't make any sense to put Bitcoin miners at that point. So that's good. They're actually thoughtful on that side of things. Bitcoin HODL is what we have as of October, was 13,033. That's valued about 1.3 billion right now, 1.13 billion. And that's about 37% of their market cap right now. We look at obviously the other metrics here as always. We've on the monthly charts, but here's what we have for the last 4 quarters. Revenue came in at 22.3 million here for them. I was off by just a little bit on that one. I had them at 224 million for the quarter, so off just a little bit. But they've been obviously increasing their revenues here each quarter going from the past there, so that's good. Current quarter, we're looking at about 184 million. That's depending where Bitcoin ends up. Right now where it's at, we're looking at definitely a sizable decrease here in the revenues for all these guys here, not just Cleanspark as well. And then the last 4 quarters operating costs, we've seen those go up as well as their operations have increased in hash rate and all that stuff. Getting new people on board as well to help build out with HPCI business. That's all, being a part of it, somewhat a part of it as well. Down here, we can see cost to mine 1 Bitcoin minus depreciation. I have them at 49.7. I think they reported they're like at 42 or 43. Off by maybe I might be off by a little bit there. There might be something there I'm concluding that they are not. Excuse me. Bitcoin mined quarterly down to 1,957 there. They peaked in Q3 at 2012 there. Down a little bit, not too much, so that's not too bad there. Debt to equity still really good, 0.46 on it. Current ratio also really good, 4.18 right now currently. And then total current assets, 1.3 billion, and total current liabilities about 315 million. So still really, really healthy balance sheet there. Looking at their numbers here for the last quarter revenue that we have, or the current quarter that we're in actually right now, which should be current quarter revenue. I should put that current quarter, not this one. It should be this one. Current quarter that we're in. This is estimated. Last 3 quarters was 604 million, combined 788 million there on those quarters. And if we look at P of 50% and 75% net income, we have them between $23 and $34 there. They are at $11.82. Yes, they are undervalued here. If we use the numbers, if we use the numbers for October revenue times 12 months, we have between 24.62 and 36.93. Still way undervalued, right? They should be at least double from where they are right now to be fairly valued on things. Obviously, all of these guys took a big hit in the last 4 or 5 weeks or so. Everybody was included in that. Nobody got better treatment. Some did a little bit better than others, but more or less everybody came down, 40, 50, 60% here in the last couple of weeks. So we've had that correction, and I think we'll be going up forward from there. All right, down here, we'll take a look at some of these figures here in a second, but looking at cash and cash equivalents and things like that, total current assets, that did increase here just a little bit, about 100 some odd million there. So that was good. From the prior quarter, total assets increased to 3.183 billion, from 3.101 billion. So that was nice there. There's nothing really outstanding there. Liabilities increased to 315 million from 276 million. Not a huge increase, just a little bit of an increase there. Big thing that increased on them was accrued liabilities, 117 million there from 64 million. And we had accounts payable actually go down to 15 million from 23 million. So that's not bad at all. Total liabilities, basically 1 billion there, up a little bit from 954 million. Right, the loans payable net of current portion, 644 million. That was the same part there. What has actually increased here? Just the current liabilities, it looks like. Total liabilities there. Total liabilities and stockholder equity, now 3.18 billion. And total liabilities from that was 3.101 billion. And they're being valued at, 3 billion right now as it is? Yeah, 3 billion, even a little less. So, that doesn't really make much sense there, does it? Total current assets, the total current assets are 3.18 billion. So they're actually being valued less than the current assets that they have on hand. Yeah, they're undervalued, right? Things came down quite a bit there. All right, talked about that. Liabilities, let's get into revenues here a little bit. Revenues, we talked about that, 223 million here, looks like for the quarter, 766 million for the year, which is obviously a great year there, fiscal year. That's double for where they were basically a year ago, 378 million. So fantastic growth on Bitcoin mining as well. What else do we have here? Cost of revenues was 97 million, up from 90 million for the prior quarter. Professional fees went up just a little bit to 3.9 from 3 million. Payroll increased quite a bit here, 51.8 million from 16.3 looks like, based on my numbers. I think a large portion of that is contributable to the prior CEO being let go or leaving on his own accord and getting obviously the share-based compensation there and his salary, all that. I think that's being included in that. So that didn't help out there, but that's definitely up much higher from where it was in the past. General administrative actually went down to 14.2 from 16.5, so that's good there. And then gain on fair value, they basically got 66 million for the valuation of the Bitcoin through the FASB rules. And depreciation went up to 108 million from 94 million. More hardware, more sites, things like that. You're going to get obviously more depreciation at that point. A new line that was added in here was the indirect tax contingency expense. And that was 11.1 million there. But cost of revenue came in at 211 million. They were still able to squeak out a positive, basically, number there overall, just barely. Going down here, I didn't see anything else that was major or of concern here. Income loss before income tax expense or benefits, so they were 25 million there. And total comprehensive income loss attributable to common shareholders was about 6.6 million for the quarter, 352 million for the year. Obviously, the year was really good there. They were up $1.25 per share per the year, about basic, and $1.12 for the diluted shares. And then for the quarter, it looks like it came in at 0. Maybe it was just slightly under 50%. Let me see if we can increase the number there. Let me see here. Sell decimals. Okay, a penny. Looks like they got a penny lost here for their quarter, and a half a dollar on the diluted portion of it, based on my math at least. I didn't see what they reported for the quarter, but basically that's what we got here. So kind of in line with what I was expecting. I was expecting them to possibly have a slight positive EPS with the FSB impact there. Big thing was the 20-some million additional for the payroll expense, or actually it was more than that even. It was 51 million compared to 60 million. So if it wasn't for that, again, but that's contributable to the prior CEO leaving there. On that, if we take out also depreciation, they would have had about 41 cents there, and without depreciation for the year, they had about 249 overall. So that was looking pretty good there. Stock-based compensation came in at 36 million, so that was a big portion of it also, it looks like, for them, based on the reported stock-based compensation for the year of 45 million, right? They had 1 million, 3 million, 4 million, and then end of year, ex-CEO leaving, that didn't help out, right? So all that stuff got added into it here, and that's kind of where we are right now. Overall, pretty good, right? Great growth. The big thing is their growth going forward with HPCEI. Should they be valued much higher from that? Yes. Right? If they get a deal for one of their sites, Sandersville, or the sites around Atlanta as well, or even their new site in Texas, that's going to help the stock go up nicely, I believe. All right, going back up to here, we can see, so we covered most of this stuff already as it is, right? Cost of one Bitcoin mass depreciation was 43 for the year. It was 49 for the quarter, it looks like. And then we talked about debt current ratio, book value, 2.1 billion there, price to book ratio 1.38, enterprise value 2.8 billion. A beta was at 120 million, it looks like. EV to beta was 23, and debt to beta was 8.38. General revenue, we talked about that. General administrative compensation went up, like I said, quite a bit there to 66. So that's 29% of it. Don't like seeing that. Definitely like seeing that around 16, 14. Even if it got lower than that, that would have been great. And then when we look at general administrative expense, that's still only 6% for the quarter there on that, right? It was 14 million, so that's looking pretty good there at 6.38%. Still would like to see that lower though overall. But we did have a 9% decrease in the number of shares here from the prior quarter of 281 million to 255 million as they bought shares. This is as of basically today, right, where they are. So this more or less happened in Q4 instead of Q3, but I always use the reported numbers for this at the time of their financial reports. Okay, and that is it. That's all I got for you guys on that one. Let's get into Q&A. As always, spreadsheets will be available to Patreon members. I'll get this out to you guys tomorrow. Link for that is down in the description if you want to join. A couple bucks a month helps what I do, and you get access to all of this data that I track on these guys here. All right, that is it. Let's get into Q&A. See what you guys have to say. And we'll call it a day. We got one more day, and we got Thanksgiving. We'll be getting fat, eating a bunch of turkey. which I love turkey. I don't know about you guys. I like the white meat part. The breasts. I'm a breast man, I guess you could say. But it's just delicious with gravy, homemade gravy. Oh, I'm looking forward to that. Okay, let's get into questions here. I'm going to scroll up as always and work my way down. All right, let's see here. I can't pronounce your name. I do apologize. I'm just going to call you KH. Hi, said, please include my question in your Q&A section. Cleanspark realistic price end of the year, 2025, Q1 2026, and Q2 2026. Thanks. Geez. Don't know, right? Can't sell that far apart, far out. I guess you could say it's too far out. I mean, by the end of the year here, I would think that they would be somewhere closer to $20, right? That's as long as the market goes up, things, other companies maybe get deals for HPCI as well, or maybe they get a deal. That should help them out. But I think they should be at least double from where they are right now, just to be fairly valued just on the current operations they have, not including any HPCI business. Eventually, they will get re-rated. So that's kind of where I'll be looking at for them. All right. All right, what do we got here? All right, Cleanspark came in at, okay, a penny EPS. I'm down a little bit because surprise stock is holding up this well. Must have been a solid call. I haven't listened to it. Yeah, the call was solid. Definitely listened to it. They are obviously having conversations with customers there for their sites for the HPCI business, so that's good. That obviously helped out. And, I mean, I kind of figured they were going to be just slightly positive for the quarter. I actually have them down a little bit, but that's based on the numbers that I'm using and now the numbers that they reported. I'm taking the numbers that they reported for the year and subtracting stuff from the prior 3 quarters to get my numbers. So that might be off just a little bit. But yeah, EPS, okay, Creature says correction, negative. Okay, so I was right. Okay, my numbers were correct. Okay, that's good. Yeah, so it's kind of in line with what I was expecting. Right, with the CEO leaving, I knew there was going to be obviously expenses for that happening into it. Bitcoin didn't do as well as we thought it was going to do in that quarter. It was kind of flat more or less, so that didn't help too much out either, but it was in line. The big thing is the guidance on the call was good, right? They are definitely working towards their HPCI data center business, and they're having conversations right now with hyperscalers, which is also great. All right. Marty, which top 3 miners have the best earnings? I have to look back at those, but IREN was obviously the best, I think, followed by, oh, cool. I'd have to look back at the other 2. I know IREN was probably the top one there. All right. AIT question, what did you think about Ben's tweet yesterday? Did you get a chance to read it? Personally, it sounded like very bullish. I like his comparison to Facebook. All right, I did not. Let's take a look at that one, see if I can find it here really quick on X while we're going through all this. Let me see. Search for hash override. Right, that's his Twitter handle there. Hash override. There he is. Ben Gagnon. Let's see what his tweet was. This is from 14 hours. Okay. Let's take a look at it here. So this is what he posted. It looks like, I think this is the one you guys are talking about here. Correct me if I'm wrong here. But Good Morning Farmers reporting my aftermarket post yesterday for those who missed it. Number 24, Good Morning Farmers, glad to be back on X after a blackout period. Technically, my blackout period ended Monday the 17th, but I had a very busy week speaking with institutional investors and revising our strategy through 2030. Because so much has happened since I entered blackout, I would like to provide my thoughts on the market in the interim. Okay, that's actually really nice of him to do that, and I love that he's being open with everybody. The macro environment for the last few weeks has obviously been weak, but when you are dealing with multi-year infrastructure projects and decade-long investment cycles, short-term market conditions do not impact long-term fundamentals. I agree with him there 100%. To the contrary, panic in the markets like we have been seeing for a few weeks is exactly what is needed to test support levels. I agree there as well. Hit a reset in charts, establish new entry points, cut interest rates, restart quantitative easing, and go risk on into midterms, which I strongly believe is coming in the months ahead. This is a very bullish setup for 2026. I would agree with him there as well. In times like these, it's important to take a step back and see the forest through the trees. Take a look at the charts attached that show the universe of publicly traded companies that I am following in HPCI. quarter to date and year to date. As of the time of this writing, we are basically flat quarter to date, albeit down from the peak over $6 in October. Excuse me. And we are up 73% year to date. Almost everyone is up year to date, but quarter to date performance has pulled back across the board. Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it ad nauseum here. Let's see. Emerging markets like HPCI are incredibly volatile, and without volatility, you would have no reward as an investor. Case in point, take a look at Amazon, who has one of the biggest data center businesses in the world, but diversification as one of the largest retailers in the world. They have one of the best performance quarter to date, up 2.7, but they are at the bottom of the barrel year to date, only up 2.6. With risk comes reward, and year to date, Bitfarms is outperforming the biggest names: Google, Nvidia, Oracle, Microsoft, Amazon, Meta, and Bitcoin. Why? Because we are solving a very valuable problem. The bottlenecks that is slowing down the growth of HPCI and value created in solving that problem is transformative. I agree there, 100%, yeah. At Bitfarms, we believe the biggest limitation between humans and computers' data is the inference interface. We also believe that improving the interface drives humanity forward. I would agree there, right? I mean, you can have all the computing in the world, but if you have a crappy interface, then people can't use it the way they want it, then you're not really solving anything there. In the early days, you had to write computer programs with index cards that you punched holes in and had to arrange in meticulous order. When programming went from that to human language, it significantly improved the interface and unleashed a wave of productivity and adoption. That is true. When people were first using the internet, everything had to be shared directly. When Google started crawling web pages and made the internet actual searchable, it changed the interface again, unleashing another wave of productivity and adoption. Yeah, I mean, if you guys go back to the beginnings of the internet, I remember dialing up bulletin boards, getting in those things. I remember having AOL, CompuServe, right, as our on gateways onto the internet as well. You had a dial-up modem. The thing squeaked like crazy for the first couple of seconds, and you finally got connected, and you were operating at 14.4 kilobytes per second or something like that. I mean, now we got gigabit speeds, right? How much has changed in the last 20 some odd years? So, yeah, great innovation comes fast. When Apple first introduced the iPhone, it changed the interface and how we interact on the go. The internet went from something only accessible at a desk to available on the palm of your hand whenever and wherever you need it. This again unleashed a wave of productivity and adoption. With AI, you no longer need to understand how computers think. Computers now understand how you think. That is true as well. This is by far the biggest leap forward in the interface yet, and we haven't even scratched the surface of what's possible and how AI will be deployed, utilized, and adopted. This is a revolution that will play out over years and decades, not days. I agree there. I mean, I'm thinking all the same things as he is, but he's definitely he has a much better way of articulating it through the writing here. So while mainstream news puts out articles after article comparing AI to the dot-com bubble, you may ask yourself, did the internet and e-commerce peak at the dot-com bubble? No, the industry is worth exponentially more today than it was during the peak of the dot-com era, but there's also differences in that. We talked about those before. Anything that had a .com at the end of it, of a company name, was going up like crazy without any revenues, right? That was the big thing. That was the bubble. These guys have revenues right now. This is not a bubble. If you could freeze time and walk up to a wave, you could stand so close to it that you would only see bubbles, but that's a matter of perspective. Take a step back, change your perspective, and you would only see the wave. This is very common at the beginning of the fundamental paradigm shift because capital is trying to position itself effectively amidst a new reality at the same time that it is trying to understand the same new reality. Okay. Will some companies be overvalued as capital tries to simultaneously understand and position itself this paradigm shift? Yes. Does that mean we are in a bubble and AI has peaked? Absolutely not. Yeah, I agree there 100%. The reality is that while many people use AI daily, the amount of value created by consumers pales in comparison to the value that will be created by enterprises when they apply AI. And while most corporations are talking about how they will apply AI to reduce costs, increase productivity, or restructure workflows, most of these are in pilot stages. Compared to what will be done in the coming 5 to 10 years, it doesn't even round to 1%. It rounds to zero. That's the wave. It's important to keep perspective in mind during paradigm shifts. Lots of money can and will be made by flipping and day trading, but true wealth is created through vision to see out years in the future and executing against that vision with conviction. I would agree there as well. The current situation reminds me of when Mark Zuckerberg was offered $1 billion for Facebook by Yahoo. Yahoo wanted Facebook because they saw its potential, wanted a great deal. Mark could have made a bunch of money in a very short period of time, but never really entertained the billion. At the time, people thought he was crazy, but he wasn't. They just didn't have his vision for what the future held, and the conviction that what he was building was revolutionary. That didn't make him crazy. It made him able to do things inconceivable to other people. This is where Bitfarms is today, looking out at the future of this industry with vision and conviction. We know what the future holds. We know the value of what we own. We know the value of what we are building. I'm bullish, and that's great. Yeah, that's a great post by Ben. So kudos to Ben for doing that. I agree with him there. It is definitely a bullish post, right? But it is going to take time for them. Bitfarms, we're looking at possibly by the end of 2026, they'll have a site up in Washington, right? And then from there, we're going to be looking at Scrubgrass, Panther Creek sites as well, as they're building those things out. And they do have, a nice pipeline of megawatts to go as well. So it is going to be a while, right? This is not going to happen overnight. It's going to be volatile in the interim, right? We're going to go up, we're going to come down, we're going to go up, we're going to go, it's going to do that, unfortunately. It is what it is. But as long as you have a longer term time frame to invest in, I think you'll do very, very well here. This is going to be, for a lot of you guys and gals, it's going to be generational wealth making in the next couple of years here, I think, with some of these companies. As long as we don't get a black swan event, right, where the whole world goes into war or something like that, right? So, yeah, I'm super bullish on this, and this is great. I love to see this from CEOs, right, basically giving their thoughts and things like that, and where they see things right now as well. And yeah, the more information that we have from these guys, the better. So I love that from Mr. Ben Gagnon. All right, let's go back to Q&A here. All right, so we obviously covered that question there. What else do we have here? All right, well, we just covered that one as well. What did Ben say? We covered that. Alexander Hawk, hi there. All right, where are the quarter results for 3 months? Where are the quarter results? I think you're talking about Cleanspark. We showed those. Let's see here. Kenya does, that's a scam there. All right, what was the EPS of before? Before, we talked about that as well. All right. Rob said, what do you make of JP Morgan trying to sabotage MicroStrategy in the Bitcoin game by shutting down clients, bank accounts that hold BTC, and then shorting MicroStrategy to get the price of BTC lower and then buying? It is what it is. That's the markets. That's the game plan there. They're going to do whatever they can to make as much money as they can, right? Whether it's going to be screwing the little guy, they're going to do it, right? We've seen this before. It's not the first time that they've had this or done this, actually. That's why I say we are kind of at their mercy. But obviously people can do better, and people do better. People do trade these. They do options and things like that, and they actually do really well. So I'm happy for them. I suck at that portion of it. But I can definitely buy in on the dips, which I did on Friday, and I can hold on for a little bit longer. And that's my superpower, is having the patience, having the chutzpah to hold on longer than others would possibly. Others will say I'm round tripping things. And as long as I'm going up in the upward direction, I'm okay with that. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of what they do, but it is what it is. I mean, you can't really stop it. All right. All right. Rob says BTC in the country of UK. Is that Bitcoin in the country? I mean, I think you can get Bitcoin in UK, right? I'm not sure what the question on that one is. Kamikaze says Cleanspark at 36 would be awesome. Yeah, I think we'll get there eventually. Sometime next year we'll possibly get there. I think maybe even higher, depending on how fast do they close on the deals on their sites there. Let's see. Gary, question: missed earnings. Did Cleanspark mine profitably for the quarter, or did they miss again? Without the FSB impact, they were down a penny per share on the quarter because of what we talked about. Hopefully you were in that point, but they basically missed it because of the compensation to the prior CEO and share-based compensation, all that stuff got added into it. So kind of came in line with where I was thinking. I was thinking they're going to be at least a little bit positive on the EPS with the help of the FSP, but they didn't at that point. So, note says, I call major BS in Cleanspark signing a deal and being such a long way from even getting the data center ready to deliver. Well, I mean, that's definitely your opinion there, right? You're welcome to have it. I think based on their historic performance, at least from where they came into Bitcoin mining and where they are now, I think they can do it, right? Their track record at least has shown us that they can, right? So until proven otherwise, I think they can do it, but we'll see, right? Trust but verify as always. All right, Cleanspark will drop hard in the morning, in my opinion. Okay, we'll see how that goes. All right, we got some, oh gosh. We've got some spammers in here. Try to avoid those. Miner 2025. Have you watched Steven Zine? I have not. No, because it's busy. It is on my to-do list. It's on my... Let me see. Can I show this to you guys? Yeah, I can show this to you guys. There's nothing in here that won't reveal anything, but you can maybe see it there. It's on my to-do list right there on the bottom. I will get to it. Maybe I'll get to it tonight if we get done early enough. All right. See, Midwest Island. Will Google's new chips hurt IREN stock or others that are using Nvidia chips? No, because I mean you need basically the software stack as well for Google's chips there. So is Google going to be? I'm almost wondering if well, Amazon has obviously the software chops to possibly get those chips running as well. Not Amazon, sorry, Meta. Meta has the talent there, right? The expertise. They could possibly get the chips running as well. But you need, those things are designed in a way to take advantage of the software stack, the hardware stack. All of that's the way that they're designed, right? Basically, a full stack. There's another term for it as well. Vertically integrated, something like that. Horizontally vertically integrated, right? Completely down to the stack. That's what makes it so great for Google, is because they are vertically integrated with their systems there. Whereas others, it's not that easy to do. So I think Nvidia is still going to be the choice for a lot of these customers here. I would say probably for the majority, right? There might be 5% of customers that maybe go with TPUs there from Google. Amazon, as you guys know, also has their own versions. I can't remember the name that they use there. But they also have their own versions of chips that they're using for it. But they also buy a bunch of Nvidia. So I don't see that being an issue for IREN or anybody else. Rob, what do you think about the Genesis mission? I think it's great. I would love to have seen more details in it as far as how many megawatts are we going to be possibly allocating for this, right? Spending-wise, cost-wise, things like that. Yeah. Kamikaze says I'm a butt man myself. Okay. Let's see. We're talking about turkeys here, right? So, Rob, and what do you think about AMD supplying the GPUs for the federal government, and why was it not Intel? Intel GPUs are much obviously further behind from AMD, and then even Nvidia is much ahead of AMD as it is. I think I would have to look at it, but that's the main reason why I think they're. P-Invest, with all the bullish news, why is Cleanspark down after hours? It went to 13 almost and then came back to $11. I think it's just, it was up nicely yesterday. It was up, 17% or something like that? Little pullback is not unheard of. And, the market's still kind of wobbly a little bit right now as it is with these guys. So I'm not too concerned about that. All right. Rob says the smartest man in the world is saying that BTC is going to 200,000 in 45 days. I hope he's right. That would be fantastic. It'd be a great Christmas present at that point. But we'll see if that plays out. I don't know if we'll get there. Rate cuts will help. Quantitative easing will also help. What else do we have coming up here? I think those things will help. I'd love to see us get back to at least 125, 130,000 or something like that. But 200,000 would be fabulous there. All right. P-Invest, would you say swapping Cleanspark to Cypher or Bitfarms is a good idea? Cleanspark seems like a longer play. I think Cleanspark and Bitfarms are kind of in the same situation right now, to be honest with you. Right? They're both targeting some time at the end of 2026 for build-outs. Right? Bitfarms at least has plans already to build out Cleanspark is in conversations still with customers there for the site. So I would say they're kind of in the same boat right now, at least. I don't know if it would be better for Cypher. Cypher is still, let me see where Cypher valued at right now compared to where I think it should be currently. Cypher's at 1752. I think it should be somewhere between 24 and 36. So Cypher's definitely got a little bit more ways to go before it gets to being fairly valued. Whereas I think Cleanspark and Bitfarms have a lot more way to go to get to being fairly valued. So I think there may be some more upside in those, unless Cypher comes in with more deals and things like that, or partnerships. Okay, PInvest, massive short interest today for Cleanspark. Maybe that's why it's dropping after hours. Okay, that could be it. Daryl, question. Cleanspark is at the same share price when I first bought it back in September of 2021. Do you really believe this can pump in the next year? I mean, we already saw it pump to this year to $23, right? It was just a little shy of $24. Yeah, I think it can pump. I think a lot of these guys will pump here as long as the economy does well for the most part, right? Things move in the right direction. With Bitcoin, Bitcoin doesn't go on a 4-year cycle bear run, then we should be okay here. If it goes in an extended cycle, yeah, I think these things will definitely run on that. And a lot of these guys are running now on AI potential than Bitcoin mining revenue. I mean, because you're seeing already some of these guys, IREN is going to be what 3.4 billion in annual run rate for AI come next year sometime, and their run rate for Bitcoin this past year got to a peak of about 1 billion. That's come down here in the last couple of months here, but that's kind of, so they're already going to be generating more from AI than they would be from Bitcoin mining. Okay. All right, we got a bunch of people here on, hold on, give me a sec here. I'm going to take out all these friends. Do you manage to buy? I'm going to take out all the guys that are shilling those tokens. If I'm going to, let's see, hide user from channel. Some of these guys, I'm going to try not to ban anybody that I know is in here normally, but the other ones I'm going to start banning, hiding them from the channel. It's like they got nothing better to do. Go get an actual job. Go do something. Make yourself productive. Hide user from channel. So hopefully anybody that's like a regular listener, do not comment about those tokens, or you will be blocked. You will be removed. You will be hidden from this channel, unfortunately, because it is getting worse and worse as time progresses, and it's like I gotta make some more. Okay, let's see here. What else do we have? Anybody else reporting it or showing it? And I don't want to make it to where it's only members only conversation here. So, okay, I think I got rid of the two that were doing it. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, I talked about that. Okay. Monster, what about Wolf? What's your question about Wolf there? Sour said, please kick all these bots. This is getting, yeah, I'm trying to do that right now as it is. Let me see here. I think Travis, I got kicked out. Did I get Travis kicked out? Let me see here. Where's this at? I think I got him. Okay. All right. AIT, thanks for reviewing and reading Ben's tweet. That was a lot to read over. Yeah, no problem. But it was great. I'm happy that you pointed this out to me. I don't know how I missed it. Usually I get Ben's tweets all the time. Sadie, thanks so much for the likes up, for the thumbs up. All right. Neville says, no, I meant to say that I call BS on signing a deal by end of year while being so far away from getting a data center ready to go. A deal by end of year 2026 is more likely. Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of what, I had it written down here, but I wasn't sure if it was by the end of this year or next year. So by next year, I think that's more doable than by the end of this year. But if they get it by the end of this year, I mean, that's going to mean a heck of a lot. It's going to mean that there's just so much demand for this that these guys are signing things up pretty much sight unseen for the most part if you can have the megawatts there, right? So that would actually be pretty good. So we'll see if they do get it by the end of this year, but I'm expecting sometime by the end of next year. All right. P-Invest says, I think Ethereum will outperform BTC if cycle is extended, as Fukasa upgrade is massive for Ethereum and all the other narrative being pushed by Tom Lee. Ethereum should do very well. Buy BNR, please. LOL. Okay. Like I said, you guys can definitely do that. I'm staying away from those Ethereum holding companies and Bitcoin holding companies. See, Rob says, Young Hoon Kim is the name of the smartest man in the world that said BTC is going to, and he is Korean Chinese. All right. Yeah, he has the highest IQ there, right? Perfectus says, ban anyone that talks about tokens. Yep, definitely going to do that. Rob says he's in 80% IREN, 20% Cleanspark. Gary, having CoreWeave as a leader in data center space with concerns about their debt, I feel like we are back a couple of years ago when Mara would lead the miners. Sucks having a weak leader of the space. I mean, I wouldn't call CoreWeave a leader in this space. I mean, they don't really own any data centers. I mean, maybe a little bit there. But I wouldn't call them a leader. I think the leaders in this space are still Google, Amazon, Microsoft, Meta, XAI. I think those are the leaders in this space right now as it is. And everybody else is just trying to take a little cut from those guys with compute there. Oracle, I would say, is even probably a bigger leader than CoreWeave there. All right. Rob asking, nice Sour Melon, why not Bitfarms? Grab some while it's cheap, because Pennsylvania, they are well positioned for a big deal with a hyperscaler. I believe it's Amazon. If not, then it's Google. The sites in Pennsylvania are fantastic there. Sarah says, have we bottomed, or you think we may take out 80? I think we might have bottomed out. I mean, everything was screaming like we bottomed out. The RSI was low. The fear and greed was low on it as well. But time will tell, right? We'll know in a couple of weeks, in a month or two, if we bottomed out. Right? So we'll see. Noah says, these bears will be angry when we pump. Yeah, they're going to try to bring things down. KW says, hi, Seb, hi there. Sir and Rob Wong, I think Bitfarms is a trash company. They're not investable, in my opinion. Wow, okay, those are some pretty strong words. I think they have good sites. I think those can be pretty beneficial to them. I definitely like what Ben has been doing here in the last year and a half since he's become CEO. He's definitely turned the company around in a much better direction. But they've also had in the past, they've gotten better, but in the past, they've obviously had, a hostile takeover by Riot, trying to take them out. They didn't help things out. So I think they'll do better going forward here. We'll see. Okay, KH, what's the realistic price of Cleanspark will be by end of the 2025 Q1? Yeah, I don't know. I'm saying it should be at least double from where it's at right now as it is. It'll all depend on, do they get deals and things like that. All right, that is it. We'll cover anything else. I think it's everybody reporting here of quarterly results. So we have all the data in now. We'll probably take a look at some of that metrics on these guys here for quarterly results, things like that later on this week. If not next week, because we got one more day to go tomorrow before Thanksgiving. And then we'll probably be off. I'll probably be off Thursday, Friday. Saturday, and we'll be back to swing at things on Sunday at that point. So maybe at that point, we'll cover whatever happens there. Okay. Star says Bitfarms has a long record of not doing what they say they're going to do. And then Noah says, yeah, under the previous CEO, I would agree there. They did miss their targets also with Ben, but I think at that point they were trying to transition. That's why. So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt there. Sadie, you're very welcome as always. Neville Ben has been making solid decisions at the helm. I would agree with you there, Neville, as well. I think he's doing the right things, moving the ship in the right direction, much better direction, to be honest with you guys there. All right, but that's it. Love you all. I hope you guys have a great Wednesday tomorrow, kind of like Friday, which is kind of nice. And then we'll cover anything that happens tomorrow, obviously. Maybe we'll look at some sort of data on the miners as well. But yeah, I'll see you guys back here tomorrow. All right, have a great night. Until then, bye.